Welcome to On the Frontline, the Military Rec Show, hosted by John Prue, a veteran MWR professional with nearly 4 decades of experience. We spotlight the leaders, innovators, and professionals dedicated to improving the quality of life for our military members and their families. In this episode, we're joined by Ronnie Miles, Senior Director of Advocacy for the National Golf Course Owners Association and former Navy MWR Director. Ronnie shares insights from decades of leadership in military recreation, the importance of advocacy, networking, and how recreation continues to strengthen military communities across the nation. This is On the Frontline, powered by the DPRS Media Network. Let's dive in.
All right, it is 13:30 on Tuesday, 14 July 2026, and you are on the front line. My name is John Prue, as the host of this weekly podcast focused on armed forces or military recreation. We talk to professionals who are in the industry and who in some way have or are making a difference in the quality of life for our military and their families. For all of you out there, you might be a morale, welfare, and recreation professional who directly supports quality of life for our military and families each and every day. Maybe you are or have been in the military and a user of MWR programs or services at some point, and we thank you for your service. Perhaps you're a business or organization which directly supports or wants to support our armed forces recreation professionals around the globe. You might just be a public parks and recreation professional curious about that thing called military recreation and what it's all about. Or perhaps you don't fit into any of those categories and you just tuned in. Either way, welcome. Welcome to On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show. All right, another great weekend in July. By the way, reminder, July is Parks and Recreation Month. So I know around me, lots of local festivals going on in our community. We have not only large non-for-profits that are sponsoring festivals, the local park districts, county parks have festivals and special events going on, but we've got this series of church picnics, and they're really large uh, churches in this community, mainly Catholic churches, and they all have their weekend where they run these huge festivals, carnivals, music, everything going on, tons of food, great food. So I'm lucky that we have no shortage of special events or something to do over these weekends. Great. Golf. Oh my God, golf is hot here, especially being in the Midwest. We only get a few months. We're going to talk a little bit about golf today as well. So that's great. Local pools are jam packed. It's just a really great time of year. Love summer and don't want it to go away, but it is moving fast. We're already past 4th of July. Also, for you World Cup fans, I know we've been talking about it on some of the previous episodes, but we're down to the final 4 teams. Matter of fact, tonight, Spain and France match up. Tomorrow night, Messi and Argentina will face off with England to determine who's going to win the World Cup. And what a boom for this country hosting these games this year. It's really been great. It's great to see the fans from all over the world kind of embracing the U.S. culture and food and a lot of fun stories, a lot of cool things seen on scrolling on social media with related to the fans in here in World Cup fever, so to speak. Again, just a great time of year. And hey, don't forget for you baseball fans, we got the MLB All-Star game happening again tonight, I believe. So awesome stuff. Okay, today's guest is going to be Ronnie Miles, Senior Director of Advocacy for the National Golf Course Owners Association. He is also a former MWR Director and an Armed Forces Recreation and NRPA leader as well. So super excited to chat with Ronnie today, and I know you all will enjoy the conversation as well. As you know, we are part of an amazing media company called Daily Parks and Rec Show, or DPRS. DPRS Media exists to honor the parks and recreation industry, reflecting on the stories, highlighting the careers, and celebrating the real pros who are doing the essential work in our communities, and that includes our military communities. Shout out to our great producer, Jovi. I mean, Jovi is, I think, done every single one of our shows, and totally outstanding. She's behind the scenes trying to make me look good, and that is a chore. So, again, Jovi, thank you for what you do. I also want to thank our founder of DPRS Media, Craig LeBlanc, for allowing us the opportunity to host this weekly podcast focused solely on military recreation and the great work that's being done out there. All right. Side note, we are up on YouTube. We have been for a while. We've got DPRS has its own channel, and On the Frontline has its own playlist in there. We've got quite a few already uploaded. We do some post-production on them, so they, take a couple weeks to get loaded up there. But we've got a pretty good inventory out there. We are trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. We'd love to do some live shows off YouTube, but we really need certain criteria and 1,000 subscribers. We're getting there. I think we put on close to 100 in just about a week or 10 days since we've really been pushing this. All the DPRS media hosts have been doing that. So if you are moved to do so, check out YouTube channel DPRS, Daily Parks and Rec Show, and subscribe to it. That'll help us out. And again, On the Frontline has a complete playlist. Along with that, our audio files are being uploaded to Spotify as well. So, and those are going up much quicker. Matter of fact, Jovi's very involved with that process. And so we've got, I think, 25 plus episodes already loaded up on Spotify right now. So that's awesome. And another way to consume your podcast. Easy to do it in the car or wherever. So YouTube, Spotify, good things happening with our show here. Okay, today's show sponsor is Outdoor Link, like usual. If you want to turn on your entire city on and off with the swipe of a finger on an app, this is what Outdoor Link does. Outdoor Link builds smart cities, connecting your park lights, your splash pads, fountains, scoreboards, bathroom door locks, or anything really powered by electricity into a simple app on your phone, tablet, or desktop that can be controlled from any location 24/7, 365 days a year. If you want to learn more about Outdoor Link, tune in to the Smart Park Forward Show with Dave Ramirez on the second and fourth Mondays on the DPRS network. We're going to see a little promo for Outdoor Link here shortly, and we're also going to see one on something very near and dear to my heart, and that's JDP Services Management Consulting. So, Jovi, take us away. Promise we will be right back.
JDP Services Management Consulting, supporting parks and recreation and the essential service they provide. Communities benefit greatly from having dedicated advocates who champion the value of play in open spaces. Such advocacy ensures that recreational areas are prioritized and managed in ways that enhance the overall quality of life for everyone. We are dedicated to fortifying public park and recreation agencies and other related organizations by taking a practical, engaged approach to consulting and training, addressing immediate needs while equipping clients with lasting insight and tools to strengthen their organizations for long-term success. JDP Services, Management Consulting. meeting needs and exceeding expectations.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the daily Parks and Rec show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
All right, I said we would be back, and we are. So, this is the portion of the show before we bring on our guest. We quickly go through some things that are happening around the enterprise, around the world, at various locations. So, Jovi, why don't you go ahead and pull up that deck and just showing off a few things that are happening out there. Again, we get this material from our social media networks at Armed Forces Recreation Network, which is part of NRPA. We've got great social media channels: Facebook, LinkedIn. We'll show QR codes for that at the end, but this stuff comes up. It's on your feed. If you are a part of it, you will see some of the coolest things happening. Staff recognition to these outstanding events and new facilities that are happening around the globe. So, one shameless plug for those social media channels. And if you want to be a part of it, we'll show you here in a second. All right. This is from Naval Air Station, Whiting Field down in Florida. A regeneration room, kind of an offshoot of their fitness program. I've seen a few of these go into place, and they obviously made a commitment to it. So they just had 150 student aviators that came in and got a chance to check out their new regeneration room. Looks like turn down the lights, massage chairs, some other stress relievers that are going on there, but sounds like a pretty cool thing. Matter of fact, if I had a regeneration room, I'd be doing that immediately after this podcast, right? But it's good stuff happening at Naval Air Station, Whiting Field down in Florida. All right. Lots of runs happening during the summer. This one was the Stars and Strides 5K at Fort Knox. By the way, Fort Knox is one of the finalists for the National Gold Medal this year. There's 4 finalists, and they'll make that determination at the NRPA conference in Philly at the end of September. But to be a finalist is a big deal. I know they had a lot of submissions this year. So, Fort Knox doing the Stars and Strides 5K. A lot of fun pictures. This is merely just a sampling of some of the cool shots from that event. Okay, Suda Bay, Greece, naval support activity out there. Been very busy with everything going on of late, or for the last 3 or 4 months in the Middle East. They have been a busy location. And here they ran their pickleball tournament, gave out shirts. A lot of people participated. Wanted to highlight that. So, we are in the business of being around the globe, and here's a good example from Suda Bay, Greece. Okay. Want to, again, this is just reiterating the YouTube channel. This is kind of what it looks like when you pull it up. Daily Parks and Rec show. You can see down in the lower left. There's the On the Frontline playlist, but there's a playlist for all of the different shows on the DPRS network. So again, check it out. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so, and share with friends and family and your professional network. July is Park and Recreation Month, and this is just a little clip from fundraisers. As a board of director, we are out there talking about the goodness of what NRPA does, whether it's through their advocacy or through their grant program, which they distribute lots of grants to support public parks and rec agencies around the country. So always a big fundraising campaign. We, as board of directors, have our own little thing. You can probably see the link down below, which is going to be hard to follow. I can't tell you, but if you go on any of my social channels, we have a healthy competition going on with our board of directors. So if you do go on any of my social channels, you can turn around and give your donation, whether it's $20 or $10, or you want to do more. If you're moved to give to support the Parks and Recreation month of July, where we recognize it formally, that's awesome. I'd love to take credit for the donation, but the most important thing is, give if it moves you to do so. So there's my shameless plug. All right, and as we mentioned, the Armed Forces Recreation Network for NRPA. Here's some QR codes, but you can easily find this if you turn around on Facebook and LinkedIn and just put Armed Forces Recreation. It's gonna pop up, and you can just ask. They are closed groups, but if you are in the business anyway of recreation or the military or anything, you'll be accepted in almost instantaneously, and then you can get all those cool information and various communication throughout. On the Facebook site, I think we have something like 900, just short of 1,000 people. A little bit smaller on LinkedIn, but still growing social media channel for us. And then on the left side is really their monthly meeting that happens every second Wednesday. They just had a great training last week. They'll have another one coming up in August as well. Jovi, you can pull that back down. All right. Well, let's bring in our guest here, Ronnie Miles. He is the Senior Director of Advocacy for the National Golf Course Owners Association. Ronnie has been had a long distinguished career with Navy MWR, finishing up his career as the MWR Director at NSA Mid-South in Millington, Tennessee, just outside of Memphis. He was also a leader in the Armed Forces Recreation Society. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, back when the network was called a society and they were way more robust, he was a past president. Love the fact I can say I'm in his club now as serving as president, but and board of trustee of NRPA. So they had a different makeup at the time, but being on the board of directors, I got to fall suit and join that leadership group and hopefully have a voice and for our armed forces folks. So doing great things. Ronnie, welcome to On the Frontline, the Military Rec Show.
Thanks, John. Great to be here, and I'm sure you're the presence you have on the board will make sure that the armed forces has a voice in the room. So thank you for your continued service.
Yeah, sometimes they tell me to shut up, but yeah, I'm going to keep pushing it. It was a huge gap. It was you. It was Kathy Perellis Jackson kind of followed you. And then there was this huge gap where there was no really armed forces recreation folks that served at that leadership capacity. Plus, they had changed the organization. So the board of trustees kind of went away and it went to a standard board of directors. And there were some leadership changes. So, yeah, I was super excited to be asked to be on the board. And now I'm going into my second 3-year term. So, they're going to hear me for another couple more years. So
Yeah, I recall when they were doing the reorganization, if you will, there at the NRPA, and I did like you. I felt like the armed forces was kind of left out of the planning phase of that. But
yeah,
fortunately, you and others have engaged, and we're back in there, and that's a good thing, because I think, there's the relationship between what the Armed Forces Recreation Society and the members of that do versus the general population of recreation professionals are very aligned, very similar, and they learn from so much from each other. And I think for us, those of us who've been in armed forces, I think it's important that we continue messaging the importance of who we are and what we're doing, because the military member and their family members, they're different, if you will,
yeah,
than sometimes
yeah,
the general public recreational participant, because we find ourselves in the armed forces recreation side, of being provider of services that you generally might not get off base. So again, I'm glad to see that the armed forces is still being recognized nationally with the recreational movement in this country.
yeah, yeah. We've got a long storied past with the national recreation movement, and I did a history piece for the 60th anniversary for NRPA in the September edition, and just touched on all of the good work that you and others ahead of me did, but it really shaped my career when I started getting involved in this, and kind of you know I wasn't sure. I thought I was going to stick around for a career and do this, but when I started getting involved with the folks like you, eventually then Randy Sells got very involved with AFRS, and that cemented it for me that what we do matters, um, and we want to pass the torch or carry the torch forward. So it's good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
I think too, and the point, I know we'll talk a little bit about leadership later, but like you, I was, throughout my career, I was fortunate to work for individuals who believed in engagement with your national organization. So for me, ever since coming out of college, my first career, we'll talk about that, but I've always been the part of leadership that has been engaged nationally, and I think that's helped me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we titled this leader at all levels, and that's what I think about with you. So we'll get into that a little bit more. So before we kind of ask you about your journey, I do want to put you on the spot here, and I know you're an advocate for golf, but can you give me one of your top one or two top golf courses you like personally
My golf,
out
what
there?
now?
Golf courses, golf
Oh,
courses.
gosh, that is a tough one. I think I just played for the first time Pebble Beach
Yeah,
a
yeah,
few
that's
weeks
right.
back, and I'd say that's probably at the top. But one that stands out to me, also, that a lot of people haven't played, but they need to get there, is it Big Cedar in Missouri,
Oh, yeah,
where Paynes Valley. What a beautiful, beautiful course. I think, obviously, it's 18 holes of photogenic opportunities. Just let me say, it's just a great, great facility. So, but there are so many beautiful golf courses in this country, and I've been fortunate to play some of them. There's a lot of them I still would love to play, but
yeah,
having the chance to play Pebble a few weeks ago was a really bucket list for me, and I really,
yeah.
really enjoyed that.
Yeah, you're my idol now. That talk about a bucket list that I probably never get to. That is certainly one of them. If you ever get up my way, I mean, we've got some pretty nice golf courses in the state of Wisconsin. You got
Mhm.
Whistling, which has been out there, hosted some big events, but they have this natural sand dune area way up in the center of the state called Sand Valley, and there's a number of different courses now tied to it. Some private, some public, some semi-private. If you ever get up that way, I was fortunate to play there a few times, and wow, some nice courses up there. And you never know you're in the state of Wisconsin, to be honest. Just the way it's shaped and laid out, and
Yeah,
it's really cool.
there's just so many. I'm sure any of our owners are listening to this show later on. They're going to say, "Why didn't you talk about mine?" You know, because there are so many beautiful and great golf courses in this country.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, tell me about your journey. You obviously have a great job right now, and I know you love golf, and you always have. But walk me through your professional journey, specifically highlighting that military rec stuff.
Yeah, when we think about, and I think about my career in recreation, I grew up in recreation. That's on the playground. That's where my journey began. Playing in the Little League baseball and in junior Pee Wee football, all of those sports, and had the opportunity because I lived not too far from my recreation department, my center. I had the opportunity to work. My first job was in recreation, dragging baseball fields and coaching t-ball.
Yeah.
But I think there it started for me when the athletic director, Billy Gardner, I'll never forget, because he was that guy, who ran the business as far as we were concerned. There were directors, Charlie Ellenberg and some others I worked under, but Billy Gardner was the athletic director. And that's really where I found my place. I felt comfortable in that environment. I said, this is what I want to do. So fortunately, that's where my journey began. And I stayed focused on that. I ended up, after high school, got drafted in baseball by the Kansas City Royals, and ended up, after negotiating with them, I said, I want to go I want to go to college. So I accepted a scholarship to college here in Charleston private school. And it was the last year the NCAA would permitted 4-year scholarship. So I was able to sign a guaranteed 4-year scholarship. I knew I was going to get my degree. So I played ball there for 4 years and had a good time. But like any pitcher, your arms can get under the knife and things change. But fortunately, I had been working with my advisor throughout my time there. He was very engaged with the park and recreation field. And he knew all of the people within the Charleston community who were in the leaders in parks and recreation. So he introduced me to a lot of very influential and very smart people. So when I did graduate, I was able to land my first job as athletic director at North Charleston, right here, nearby where I'm living today.
Yeah.
And from there, I worked for there a few years, and because of the network I created with that job, being on the very committees, and the military was a big part of the recreation environment here. I met a number of people within the military recreation community. Maybe I think it was like 3 years after I had been working with the department, Tony Folk. I know you might remember Tony Folk.
I remember the name. Yeah.
But Tony was getting promoted to the athletic director job, and the job he had as the community center director there at an off-base housing facility was available, and he recommended I apply. I did, and so I became the community activities director, and so that's where it started in 1980, and from there went from community recreation director to marketing director to assistant recreation director. And as the organization changed, became MWR, and working under Bill Clements, I became the assistant MWR director. So again, and then I have opportunity from there with BRAC, obviously closed our base along with many others. I got the opportunity to go to Naval Training Center, Technical Training Center in Pensacola, and they're at a different environment because I was used to the fleet environment. There you have an environment where you're around the technology community as well as the aviation community. That's what Pensacola was. And so I had that opportunity to meet sailors who were of different, I hadn't been used to working for the aviation community. So it was different.
Yeah, it is different.
Yeah. And then from there, 4 years later, I went to Memphis, Tennessee, there at Millington, where I worked there as MWR. That was a great opportunity for me. It was in a rebuild because that base was affected by BRAC, and the whole aviation training center that school there moved to Pensacola. So I was moving from Pensacola. Memphis got me, Millington got me, and Pensacola got the aviation training center. So again, it was they got Pensacola got the better deal in that. But anyway, so I was there for 17 years, and you know, that was a long time. But you know, it came. Robin, my wife, and I, you know, we knew at some point we wanted to move back to Charleston whenever I did retire. Wanted to retire. And you know, so in 20, I think it's 2016, 2015, we started thinking about it, and she shared with me a job announcement for the National Golf Course Owners Association for their event planning director. I said, well, you know, we'll start the journey to try to discover what do I qualify for?
Yeah.
You know, so I put in my resume, submitted my resume, and about a month or so later, I got a call from our CEO, our now CEO, and identifying to me that the person that had that position decided to stay in that position, but he was the incoming CEO. He hasn't taken the seat yet. So he said once he comes on board, he had something in mind that he was thinking of developing there with the organization. Would I mind if he sent me a job description after he's on board and see what I think, if it's something I would be interested in? So a few months later, he sent me an email and shared a job description for the Director of Advocacy, which was a position they didn't have. And obviously, when I looked through it, you know, and we talked a number of times, and I said, well, this is a great opportunity, and so that I chose to retire and move back to Charleston, and here I am today.
That is
10 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, and for those in the audience or whoever's going to view this somewhere down the line, the beauty of being able to retire on were you a non-appropriated fund, or
I retired as a FERS.
Oh, okay, on the GS cross side. But
Yep.
you know, the fact that we have pensions and 401ks in the government, shameless plug for federal government employment, but it's a good deal. We also have retiring insurance, so it does give you that buffer to retire early and not have to panic that you have to be a certain age because you're not going to have health insurance, because I'm paying the same amount that I was paying as an employee as a retiree. And now I'm a two-time retiree because I retired in NAF and then did a 5-year gig on the GS side. So again, shameless plug for federal employment.
Yeah, I mean, military recreation has a lot of benefits, and that is a good one.
Yeah, yeah. No, your time in Charleston, we just did an episode a few weeks back on Indiana University and all the great Indiana University folks. And of course, Tim Campbell we had him do a little spot video thing, and in talking with him as we prepped for that whole episode, there was a lot of moving parts with that. So I spent a lot of time putting that together. But Tim went on and on and on and talk about, you know, Bill Clemens and you and how that shaped his career, and he went on to do good things too. So it's funny. It is kind of one little big circle, one happy family. Everybody knows everybody, even though we're all scattered around the world.
Yeah, we were I think a pretty fertile ground for Indiana University graduates. So
Yeah,
we had a number
yeah.
of them come through our organization.
Yeah, between Clemens and Sharpless at Indiana, there was a pipeline coming your way. So
Yeah.
do have to ask you, a South Carolina guy, you South Carolina or Clemson,
Clemson.
or
Clemson.
okay, just
all the
want
way.
to check. Just want
Yeah,
to check.
Robin is the Gamecock.
Okay, good. Oh, you got a battle in the household.
Yeah,
That must be tough on certain weekends.
yeah, we've
So,
survived it.
sounds good. All right, we are going to take a really quick break. So Jovi's going to take us away here, but I promise we're going to be back and we're going to really get into some things about leadership, about your job now. We're going to talk a little golf, and we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. So Jovi, take us away. We will be right back. Promise.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs. We're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
This episode is brought to you by SDSU's Sports MBA program. If you're passionate about sports and want to work in the women's sports industry, then this is the time to pay attention. SDSU's program is 12 months accelerated hands-on learning where students have actually gotten to work with teams like the San Diego Mojo, partnered with the Farmers Insurance Open, and visited headquarters like the Upper Deck or Callaway Golf. It's built for people who want to be in rooms like that. So if you're interested, deadlines are approaching. Learn more or apply with the links in the description.
All right, we are back with Ronnie Miles. Ronnie, let me ask you this: what were some of the important takeaways? What are the key items maybe you learned as you were going through that MWR background? What can you share with maybe somebody in a mid-career time path that needs the prescription to get to being successful in our business?
Well, hopefully they're working for an individual who believes in engagement, who supports professionalism, and supports professional development. I fortunately had that opportunity throughout my career, and that really helped me. But I there are really two things. One, networking. Excuse me. Networking is absolutely critical in our industry. I think it is in any particular industry you're in. Where I'm at today, in my job today, networking is absolutely critical. But also not just in the work environment, but also personal, because you have a life outside of work, and those things that you do, those networks you create help you because you have an opportunity to help others. And the other is I think whether it was Bill Clement or any of the CEOs that I work for, I think it was important that I learned the importance of being able to answer the question, why? Why do we do this? What does it matter? And as for military recreation, it was profound when I really understood, because when I started out in community rec, and we had that recreation center, I learned, I thought I was just running the youth sports program there in the housing development. But what I learned very quickly, I became a counselor, family counselor. Dad's gone out to sea for 6 months, 9 months, mom's there with all these kids, and what's you going to do? And the behavior of the kids sometimes is not like you'd want. How do you help that mother cope with that behavior? So I became more than just an athletic manager. I felt like I was a counselor, but it's understanding why we're there. Why do we do what we do?
Yeah, it's so important. And I think that's what ultimately keeps us here too. we were mentioning, it got to a point where I got to a certain level where it was cemented. This is what I was meant to do, and this is what I want to do, because it's so important to support them in the mission. We talk about readiness and retention and all the good things that MWR is there for, but you see it in person, and that makes all the difference for sure. In terms of, you mentioned Bill Clements. Is there anybody else out there that was a mentor or somebody, a really key person in your career growth?
Well, I mean, I would say I started out in community recreation there at the city of North Charleston, and the director I worked for and another director who was very close, we worked very closely with, Ted Jones, who I worked for, and then Gary McJunkin. Those were two individuals that were not only leaders in the industry, but they set example, and I really learned a lot working for them. And both of them were leaders in the industry, and I aspired to be like them. So I would say, because that was my formula years coming out of college, my first bosses, if you will, boss. So that still resonates with me.
Yeah, set the tone.
Throughout my career, there's been some others. I've worked from some COs who were absolutely great about understanding who I was and making sure that we worked together, and I understood who they were, and it really helped us develop an organization that moved forward, I think, quite efficiently.
Yeah. You mentioned networking. The first time I think I really met you, and you worked closely, and you knew Jerry Heap, my boss. I was just his recreation director there. We went down, and I don't even remember what it was. I don't know if it was out at the golf course at Mid-South or where we were, but there was some people from the community that were there. They were leaders in the community, whether it was a councilman or a mayor, I think maybe, and you were like the rock star. Talking to you. I'm like, he's an MWR guy. Why does it's like everybody in Millington knew you. You created this network around Millington, which is such a military town. I had the old Naval Air Station tied to it, so there's a lot of ties and roots. But I think making that connection out across the fence lines was super important, and you were the master at it. You really were.
Well, you're right. It was important, but it was, I understood that relationship, especially in Millington. Millington was a Navy town, but you still had a city council that set policies and direction for the city, and it was important that our COs felt the same way, that we needed to be engaged with the community, so to make sure that the community leaders knew that we support them, we need their support, and so it was very important. I was, I believe every MWR director, if they're not, they should join their local chamber of commerce. Because for me, that was a very, very important part of my networking, was working with the leadership in the business community, because sometimes we might be at odds with our business practices versus what they want. So for them to understand who we are and us to understand what the issues were, we could really discuss issues before they became a problem. So that was important part of that networking there. So I found, while I only spent 4 years in Pensacola, it was a little different there, because you had Naval Air Station, which was the big base, and Roger Patrick's was there. And so the relationship that he created within the community, because they knew the relationship that NASP had with the local community was critical as well. And so Roger played that same role there. And so when I moved to Millington, it was imperative that I engage and put myself in the middle of the community, which I was going to live.
And it's certainly, you talk about Chamber of Commerce and just that commitment in this era of sponsorship. And maybe it's not the MWR director, but somebody needs to be connected to that business community because there are some real opportunities for businesses that want to, um, have sailors, military as consumers and making that connection. And that really helps and potentially is some big resources coming your way to do those cool programs. So awesome. NRPA, Armed Forces Recreation Society, back when we were big boys and doing really great things out there. What got you involved with there, and how'd you get to that leadership level and being on the board of trustees? That wasn't easy back then, and it's certainly not easy now. So
Yeah. Well, again, we were fortunate. We had a seat at the table before I came on board. So when I was elected as president of AFRS, then I automatically absorbed had that seat at the board of directors, not the board of trustees, but the board of directors.
yeah,
And so the seat was already there. It became my responsibility to make sure that we were a voice, not just a seat filled. And so with that, I got to meet a lot of leaders within the NRPA. And following my tenure with AFRS president, the position of the board became open. And so I was elected onto the board of trustees. So I do believe that all of those networks that you create provide an opportunity when it positions you for the right opportunity.
yeah, yeah. And trying to make a difference too. I think you're like me that you sit on a position. It's not just something you put on your resume. It's something. Let's make a difference. Let's make sure that voice is heard. What can we do? What committees can we be on to better the industry in general? And obviously make sure that the military recreation piece is up front as well. Any particular projects or anything you remember from those days? That was a while ago, but any fun things you remember?
Well, I remember when I was, excuse me, vice president, incoming president of AFRS, I was responsible for our annual conference. At that time, we had an AFRS conference right before
Yeah,
that moved
PTI.
into our PTI,
Yeah.
right? And we had about 1,500 members at that time, and we would generally get about 500 at the NRPA to come to our Armed Forces Conference. And so my role and responsibility was not only to plan the education side, but also the
Social side?
the president's reception is what it was called. And the president's reception. And I decided we were going to do it right. We were in Orlando, so we were going to we hosted our event at SeaWorld. And at this time, the different armed services, the Therapeutic Recreation Society, all the different societies had the means to generate their own revenue to cover these types of activities.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, with Armed Forces Recreation, we have access to some really good sponsors. So this event was about a $60,000 event. And so here's this event that $60,000 ran through the NRPA books to pay for this event. So that was the last year the societies could have their own function and self-funded. So everything had to then go through the NRPA. We had a great time, but that was the last year that you could have those types of soirees funded by some outside organization.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, and it changed a little bit. We were still able to do that, and it was self-funding award systems before they broke it up and created the network system. But yeah, those PTIs were awesome. And we tried to bring it back a couple years ago. We were in Atlanta, first time since I think it was like 13 years or something like that, that we had been there before. We brought PTI back. I think we had about 150 Armed Forces Recreation folks, small compared to the old days, but it was the first time we've done it in like 11 years or 13 years, something like that.
Were you there that year when we went out to Ocala, where the owner of Nautilus,
Oh yeah,
was out there?
That was.
That didn't have to go through the NRPA books, because they picked up the tab, the buses, and everything.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to run it through the NRPA books. We just had to schedule the event. So
thank God we didn't have any ethics counselors.
That's right. It was it didn't go through the military side, believe me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me about your job now, because I am really fascinated. We've talked a couple times, but for our audience and maybe to do a deep dive, what is Senior Director of Advocacy, and what are you doing to support that association of all those golf course owners across the board? And this is not only the U.S., this is overseas as well, correct?
Well, we are just U.S.
Oh, you're just U.S.
We are just primarily the continental U.S. We do have some members, Hawaii, Puerto Rico. We also support and serve them as well. So, but yeah, it's not outside the United States proper.
Okay.
Although we're working to get the military community to come in and join us up, so that might have a different reach, but we'll look at that later.
Yeah.
But my role with the NGCOA is really, first and foremost, is government affairs, public policy type things, where you're looking at legislative issues, regulatory issues that come up, and determine how do we want to play, what position do we take on it if we need to engage in it. So my role is really to determine what level of engagement we recommend to the board. This is what we do, and then we move out with taking a position and engaging our members to speak to their representatives on whatever that issue is. The other items or issues or things that my office does is what I call the things that keep owners up at night. They're external influencers that happen, whether it's tax issues, labor issues, liability issues. Errant golf balls is one that always come to mind. Errant golf balls, I had the problem when I was in Millington, and we're still seeing the problems. It's still happening today. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, because golf is on a really, really great ride right now, and really great participation level in golf, the highest ever. And with that becomes so many thousands and thousands of golfers who haven't really figured out how to hit the ball straight. So the errant golf ball issue is becoming a bigger issue, but it's, as a relative to the numbers playing, it's no greater. It's just that it's getting more visibility because it's just
bigger scale.
Bigger scale. Yeah. So, but it's we work together. Water issues. We're always looking at water issues. We hosted a water summit a few years back with focusing on the Colorado River Basin and all the states there and the impact of that. And what we're seeing right now is the drought is expanding. It's not limited to the Colorado Basin. It's other states are experiencing it. Even the state in South Carolina, we have some areas of South Carolina that's been drought, and the rivers that they depend on the water from the local rivers is caused a major disruption in water. So water is another issue that we are engaged with. Our counterpart organization, our sister organization, the Superintendents of America, the PGA, and the other organizations, and we're all concerned about some of the same things. And so for me, it's understanding what are the needs of our members, what's the things impacting our members, and trying to look at solutions. I do a lot of education, both in informative and operational recommendations. So again, we look at issues impacting our industry from outside, such as we have a growing number, just because it's related to the growth of the game, a growing number of the third-party companies starting to sell tee times online, and a lot of those tee times that they're selling, they don't have the right to sell them. So we are engaging ourselves in some of those conversations, working with some of those suppliers, vendors, educating our members on what to look for and how to protect themselves. We just published our latest new recommended terms and conditions for them to consider to protect themselves. So that's the kinds of work that comes out of our office.
Yeah. What about technology, AI? What are you guys looking at? I'm sure that kind of falls more into the vendors that support your agents, but what are you seeing out there that has really moved?
Well, AI is making a big impact. You're looking at how the industry is changing because of AI. Individuals now are able to have their own agents, making tee times for them, making reservations for them. So we're trying to make sure that we have a healthy environment of an informed and educated group of members who understand that is here. Now, here's what you need to do to protect yourselves. Because one of the costly issues that we have within our industry is what we call chargebacks. People make a credit card charge. We say they came and played. They say they didn't play, and they file. They go back to their credit company and credit card something to say, that wasn't my charge. I wasn't there. And not having proof of that, we're going to lose that chargeback. So again, trying to help our owners understand how to protect themselves from those types of activities. And as we see AI, we're beginning to question, when an agent does it, who's the liable party? So we're working with some attorneys to try to get some understanding of the legality of that question, so that we can better inform and educate our members.
What about, I've seen so many cool things in terms of landscaping and more on a small scale, whether it's somebody doing a diamond and it's like automated. It's not somebody driving it. It's pre-programmed.
Autonomous equipment. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is moving very rapidly. We have one of our members, I think he has 84 units on his golf course. So he's pretty much fully automated his grass management. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So the issue right now is cost, and I think as it becomes more popular and the cost goes down, then you'll see more of it. But the entry into the marketplace right now is kind of expensive for some.
Yeah, I can barely get my Roomba to go around my condo. I'm not sure how I would do it around a whole golf course.
Yeah, probably the most prevalent we see is in range ball pickup. That's the one that's most frequently we see. We are seeing more and more on the fairways. Not many on greens yet, but the fairways we're seeing more tees and fairways, and then obviously driving ranges.
Yeah, that's big. That's interesting. So kind of a second career for you, but you've been at it for a while.
10 years. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's hard to believe it's been that long. Let me bring you back to, and again, I'll open it up your last 10 years, but really, you have a crazy moment or story you want to share that you can share? That's going to live forever on YouTube and Spotify.
Well, it's interesting, the job I'm in now, and the things that happen throughout my career and how they relate to things I am helping our owners with. And one of those that stands out to me is actually two instances that really, unfortunately, both of them had to do with disasters. But we all learned from those events. Hopefully we learned from them. I know I did. The first one was Hugo when it hit here in Charleston. And the second was the 100-year flood that hit Millington. So in both of those cases, I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about preparation. and understanding goes into process of recovery. So those two instances really resonate with me even today, because a lot of our owners and operators, as you well know, especially in the Chicago area, disasters come at a they're not planned. They happen, and we have to react. We have to respond, and so it helps me when I'm dealing with our members who've encountered these disasters to understand, having been there, what's in front of them. And sometimes if they haven't endured it, they don't know what's in front of them. So then understanding, getting ahead of the curve and talking about understanding what's ahead, helping them plan for recovery that's something that's helped me do my job better.
That's interesting you say that. I was just having a discussion with someone related to emergency management. And if you're an MWR director in most locations, I'm sure you did, you served on the EOC or the planning team for preparing for any emergency or security breach or whatever. And
FEMA certified.
yeah, FEMA certified, lots of training, and that's not easy training. You can't gun deck that stuff. But that was a discussion I was having. This person was a mid-level manager and said, what kind of things can I forecast and do? And I said, go take some of the FEMA training. Almost all of it is free. And even if you don't need to do it, you are going to be prepared for just about anything, or understanding the structure, or the national structure that has been created in terms of emergency management. And if nothing else, it gets you in the mindset of troubleshooting, of thinking about what if and how I'm going to do that. And there's nothing better than knowing, not being blindsided by an emergency or any situation where you're completely, you haven't even thought about it. It hasn't even crossed your mind, and now it happened to you, and you need to figure out what to do, especially if you're in a leadership role. Getting your mind trained around something that could happen and being able to then take a deep breath and react, I think is super important. It's a skill set that leaders need for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. What do you think? Armed Forces Recreation. You've been out of it for 10 years, but I know you're close to it and you pay attention to what's going on. Do you see any changes, or are we still going to support the military and families just as we did 3, 5 years out? Is it going to be the same, or do you think there's some differences, or something we need to be considered in the Department of War?
I think I would put those in kind of this way. I do believe that we as a government will continue to support military and their family members. Community services, the business services that MWR does, I think will continue. I do think that there'll be more and more pressure on what we call the Cat Cs and many of the Cat Bs, which will they be there? That's been a discussion for many years, but the pressure of performance is going to be even greater. On the bigger picture, I do see, and again, it's more about what the government's doing overall with reducing management. That how many levels of degree of management do you need to run a business?
Yeah.
I do see at some point that the MWR programs probably will not be under unique leadership because I know for years they've talked about. I know when I was there for many years, they talked about why not doing it, and they said the reason for not doing it is because the uniqueness of each of the service.
Oh, kind of a purple, right. Kind of a DOW right. MWR.
Right. And so if you say it that way, then when the Navy went to regionalization, you brought together the air community, the sea, the sea community, and the tech community with all different missions, and it worked. So it worked. And so I think the installation management organizations will see change in leadership channels.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if joint basing is going to continue to grow. Obviously, they reading BRAC battle rhythm to be able to do that. And that's a dirty word. Probably people want to point a gun at me right now for even saying that. But those are the kind of things that could be seriously discussed if they get back to that, kind of looking at that joint force and supporting them. And why shouldn't it be the same from every service? We all fall under one Bible called the 1015, the Dodi 1015, and
Exactly.
believe it or not, it hasn't been updated since you were probably in. So
No,
they're working on it. They're working
as a matter
on
of fact, I keep reviewing the 1015 because we still have issues. I get calls from owners who have issues with military golf operators infringing on their territory.
Yeah, Cat C waivers.
Yeah, the Cat C waivers, and so I make sure that the 1015, everything's still there about what's required by the military base in order to have that program open to the public. So, yeah, I'm still familiar with it, and I do follow it.
That's crazy. Well, Ronnie, I appreciate the time, and it was great chatting with you and finding out what's up. We got to have you back. Maybe we'll do a deep dive get some of the service reps, the golf service reps, and have a deep dive into golf operations and bring you back at some point. So, thank you so much. Appreciate
I love it. Yeah, just let me know. I'm always ready.
Sounds good.
Meet with my brethren.
Yeah, bring them on board into your association too, right?
That's an idea.
All right, that's it for today on the Frontline. Thanks again to Ronnie Miles and his amazing story and journey in the profession. Truly a legend in the MWR world for sure. We'll be back next week, same time, same place for another great episode. So on behalf of all of us at DPRS Media and On the Frontline, the Military Rec Show, I'm John Prue, and we are out here.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom-branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.